Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're actually launching a brand new series called Holy Images Explained, and we are diving straight into our very first subject, Saint Joseph, the foster father of Jesus. Now, if you're the kind of person who loves discovering the hidden meanings and, the secret structures behind everyday things, you are absolutely going to love this.
So have you ever looked really closely at a Catholic holy image or statue and just wondered about those seemingly random objects the saint is holding? Like, why on earth is St. Joseph so often holding a delicate lily or a carpenter's square? I mean, it might just look like a purely aesthetic choice by the artist, but there's actually a profound secret language hiding right beneath the surface.
Okay, let's dive into this because the absolutely crucial point here is that Catholic sacred art is never random. Literally, every single symbol has been carefully and deliberately chosen. These artists, they weren't just decorating, they were actively teaching the faith and reminding viewers of some seriously deep spiritual truths. So let's uncover exactly what those symbols mean together, shall we?
Part 1. Meet the Silent Protector. Saint Joseph was the earthly guardian of Jesus Christ, and honestly, there's a fascinating paradox about how we understand him. Get this, in all of Scripture, there are absolutely zero recorded spoken words from Saint Joseph. Nothing. Not even a quick hello, he is completely silent. But because he didn't leave us any quotes, artists kind of had to step up. In art, his presence is incredibly loud, speaking powerfully to us through these really rich, specific visual lessons.
Part 2. Decoding Saint Joseph's symbols.
All right, to crack this visual code, we're going to look closely at exactly 8 specific symbols. 8 distinct visual clues that artists have used for centuries to point directly to St. Joseph's earthly vocation and his deep personal virtues. Let's take a look at the first one. Number 1 is the child Jesus. When you see St. Joseph holding the infant Christ in his arms, it's not just some sweet, sentimental family portrait, right? It's a profound statement about his life's mission. It reminds us that Joseph was entrusted with literally the greatest responsibility ever given to a human father, protecting, nurturing, and raising the Son of God. And, on a broader level, holding the child Jesus reflects the vocation of every single parent and guardian out there, to lead others closer to Christ. Next up, we have the lily. This is arguably one of the most common symbols you'll see him holding. The lily directly symbolizes Joseph's purity, his chastity, and his incredibly faithful love. This pristine white flower is really meant to remind us that true holiness is fundamentally rooted in purity of heart and a complete, unquestioning obedience to God's will.
Now, before we look at the next few objects, it's pretty important to grasp a broader, overarching theme here: the sanctity of everyday, honest labor. While the lily represents spiritual purity, artists also really wanted to make sure we remembered St. Joseph as a man deeply grounded in the practical, gritty realities of the physical world.
And that brings us to the carpenter's tools. You'll very often see a square, a saw, or maybe a heavy wooden hammer right at his feet or in his hands. These represent his honest labor. By working faithfully with his hands day in and day out, he provided for the Holy Family. But actually, it's more than that. These tools visually demonstrate the dignity and the absolute sanctity of human work. They prove that holiness isn't just found in quiet prayer, It's forged in our everyday jobs and responsibilities.
Moving on, our fourth symbol is the staff. This brilliantly illustrates his God-given authority as the protector of the Holy Family. In ancient times, a staff was a practical tool for navigating rugged terrain, sure, but let's be honest, it was also pretty darn handy for defense. It reminds us that he faithfully and courageously guided those entrusted to his care through some very dangerous and uncertain times.
Okay, let's take a slight step back for a second. Beyond the specific objects he's holding, artists communicated some really profound truths just through St. Joseph's physical appearance. There is a humble maturity reflected in how he looks, which really emphasizes his choice to walk a quiet path of faithful service.
Notice the colors he's typically wearing. You will rarely, if ever, see St. Joseph draped in flashy royal purples or bright, vibrant reds. Instead, he wears brown or earth-tone robes. These simple, grounded garments perfectly encapsulate his hidden life. He was a man who sought absolutely no earthly glory, actively choosing instead the quiet, uncelebrated path.
Let's zoom in just a bit here. Notice the outer cloak or the mantle that's often draped heavily over his shoulders. This mantle signifies his protective role.
Just as he literally sheltered Mary and Jesus from the harsh elements and from physical harm back then, this piece of clothing shows that he continues to be honored by the Church today as a powerful protector and patron for all of us.
Then there's his face. Almost universally across sacred art, St. Joseph is depicted with a beard. Now, here's a really surprising fact for you. Scripture actually doesn't reveal his age at all. No mention of it. Yet artists frequently and very deliberately portray him as an older man with a full beard. Why? Well, because the beard has long been a traditional visual shorthand for fatherly dignity, deep wisdom, and maturity. It instantly establishes him in the viewer's mind as a steadfast, deeply trustworthy guardian.
For our eighth and final specific symbol, look really closely at his eyes. It's actually quite moving. Notice his downward gaze. Joseph is almost always shown looking humbly down toward Jesus, or maybe gently toward Mary. He is almost never staring straight out to seek attention from the viewer. This beautifully and, frankly, silently reflects his entire lifelong mission. His sole purpose was always to point others toward Christ and never to himself.
Part 3. Lessons for us today.
So, what does all this ancient visual language actually mean for us right now? Well, through St. Joseph's image, we find some incredible practical takeaways. Fathers are visually taught to protect and lead. Workers are taught to labor honestly and find profound dignity in their daily grind. Families are taught to completely trust in God's providence. And ultimately, all of us are taught to serve quietly without constantly seeking recognition. It turns out true greatness is found in faithful obedience to God, not in fame or power.
And that brings us to this really powerful overarching thought. Quiet holiness is precious in the eyes of God. I want you to think about this for a second. St. Joseph never preached a single sermon. He never performed a recorded miracle. He literally never sought out a single shred of public recognition. Yet, God entrusted him with the care of Jesus and Mary. Why? Because he found in Joseph a man of profound faith, incredible humility, and unyielding obedience. So, I want to leave you with this provocative question to ponder today. How will you practice quiet holiness in the ordinary, everyday duties of your daily life? The next time you see a statue or holy image of St. Joseph, I challenge you, don't just walk past it. Notice the child Jesus, the lily, the tools. Remember that every single one of those objects tells a story, and let them inspire you to imitate the virtues of this incredible silent guardian. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking out those profound lessons hidden right in plain sight.